my name is LaVell, and I'm a CommonGround volunteer, and I live in Kansas. My husband and I farm in northeast Kansas, and this is one of our cornfields, and I'd like to share with you how corn gets pollinated and forms an ear on the corn stalk. So this is a tassel at the top, and it will actually shed pollen down to the silk that's down here on the stalk. And as you notice, you might have noticed that there were some that just fell off on me. That's how it sheds. And then if you actually pull this back, the silk's back, this is no different than if you're buying sweet corn in the grocery store and you have silks. You just pull that back, and each one of these silks is attached to a kernel on the cob. And so the pollen has to hit the silks and then come down and to pollinate the kernels. And so you can actually see this was a little tiny bitty ear of corn before I broke it, but based on having this ear of corn, we can actually have an idea of what our corn might yield depending upon how the weather goes over the next few months. Some difficulties that we've been having this past week, it's been very hot and dry and windy, and so we've got this pollen up here, and it's actually somewhat had a difficult time because it's been so hot and windy. As you might imagine, that might be a difficult thing for the corn crop to go through. One thing that's very interesting, and you can look at this while you're eating your sweet corn over the summer, is these kernels around the cob. There's actually always an even number. And so, for example, what I like to do is I'll kind of mark off a spot where there's 2, and then you can actually count around and see how many kernels go around, and that indicates how good our corn crop is going to yield. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 kernels around on this particular cob. And then there's also all the kernels on the going all the way up the cob. If it gets really hot and dry later on in the growing season, the cob will actually abort these kernels up above. So sometimes, and we'll call that it got tipped back, where the kernels may not fill out at the very end. So that gives us an idea of what the yield might be and how well the crop is going to yield. What I just explained to you of how the corn gets pollinated is very important to our farm, because we need to know what our yields is going to be. But this is also something that you can look at when you're eating your sweet corn. It's exactly the same concept when you're eating your sweet corn, and you can look at that if you're ever wondering how those kernels come to be. This will give you the exact idea of how that happens for your own sweet corn that you're eating.